Hello everyone. Let me quickly start off by pointing out the timestamps included in the description below, as I'll be doing minimal editing. There's also going to be some extended sections of the video that you may find boring or unnecessary to watch, so there you go. And of course, if you plan on emulating any of what I'm going to be doing in Unreal Engine, you can actually kind of jump to the specific section that you feel you want to at that point. Also, want to quickly begin by apologizing for the supreme lack of content on both YouTube and Twitch. I'll be attempting to navigate, taking much more time to get some more content out there for you, particularly in this style. We're going to be doing kind of a developer vlog, video developer diary. There we are. That's I think what they call them. And of course, the start of the new year after these holidays take up a bit more of my time. Should see the schedule open up a little bit more to continue doing that. So let's go ahead and with that out of the way, let's get to the main topic. So basically, we're going to be, as I mentioned, kind of doing a different video than what I've previously done, mostly gameplay videos previously. And I want to kind of get into the project that I'm actually been working on and give you a kind of behind the scenes developer diary style video, as I mentioned. This will all be super early, probably will change a lot of things later down the road, before everything's finalized. For example, today I'll be showing off some basic setup for characters in the game, including basic locomotion controls and the latest iteration of the health system that I have going. The main purpose behind this is because Epic Games has just released the production version of Unreal Engine version 4.26, and despite some experimenting in the preview builds of that version of the engine for some time now, I've primarily been working in version 4.25. As such, I figured I would start somewhat fresh in 4.26 and set things up from there. It also means I have a good chance to show a bit of the behind-the-scenes stuff, as I mentioned, of how I do this and my thought process behind some of my decisions, which is something I've not done before. Learning experience for all of us then. Enough chit-chat, let's begin. So I have the 4.25 version of the game, or the project, I should say, which I've codenamed Blue Cheese, by the way. Open on my second screen so I can reference my previous work to make sure I'm doing everything correctly. So if you see me looking over there, that's why. I'll be moving through some of this a little quickly. I would say this isn't really going to be much of a beginner tutorial into Unreal Engine, but there's definitely going to be some lower level terminology and explanations used. So this should be pretty layman's terms heavy as well, just so everybody can kind of understand exactly what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and how it works. Because I would think that was cool, and I hope that anybody watching this would also think that's cool. So I'm actually going to go ahead and turn off my camera now. Wow. All right. So over here we've got the just the basic template. This is essentially what opens up when you very first open Unreal Engine 4 up. Now I've got I chose game because you can choose, whether you want to do this for game or ArcViz or cinematography or anything of that nature. And we are, of course, building a game, so that's kind of what I've got going on here. So we're going to actually be starting with the first-person template. This is basically a first-person shooter template in Blueprints, because I'm a basic noob when it comes to C++ coding at this time. I use the first-person template over the third-person template for a number of reasons, mostly to do with what's included in each and the ease of implementing what's not included, but to be honest, it would be pretty much just as easy for me to go the other way around. I just prefer it this way for the time being. So we'll select this, we'll hit next. We are going to be doing a blueprints. We're going to do maximum quality, ray tracing. We can always enable that afterwards, and there's no reason to have it enabled from the get-go. Essentially, it's going to bog down our performance while we do that, so we don't want that. We are developing for the desktop console, and we don't need any of the starter content. We'll go ahead and name this here. Let's call it Blue Cheese Pre-Alpha for now. And I am saving this to my Google Drive because I actually have this synced up that I can work on this both on my home computer, and I can work on it through my shadow computer where I also have my Google Drive projects linked up. So that's pretty useful for me. If you're not familiar with Shadow, I highly recommend checking that out. Shadow.tech, I believe, is the website, actually. Really cool software for cloud PC gaming. All right, so we are opened up here. So there are a number of things that I need to set up initially. So the first thing I want to do is get my 4.26 editor settings exactly how I want them. So we're going to come up to our edit and editor preferences. One of the things I really like to use is small toolbar icons. And you can see that changes them all here. Now this is a layout that I set up myself. This is not the default layout that they have here. I just happen to prefer things set up this way. I get a nice large viewing window, which is behind this current window here. All right, let me dock this real quick. I get a nice large viewing window. We also get our content browser. I want to make sure this is opened up. And then we've got details of world settings are nice here. Our world outliner, which we don't need to use too much for a while, and our place actors. And then with the small icons in the toolbar, I can get pretty much everything I need up at the top here without taking up really any space at all. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come down and we're actually going to go from all settings. I'm going to look for... Actually, no, it's right there. Loading and saving. I just want to turn off enable autosave. The reason I'm doing that is because autosave will kick in pretty frequently and end up actually slowing things down for me. I'm really good about saving myself anyway, so we'll go ahead and get that. And that's pretty much all we need to do in here for the time being. There's some things I could do with different visual settings, performance settings, and whatnot, but my computer's kind of a beast, so I don't really need to do any of that. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to Edit and Project Settings. This one we're definitely going to leave docked because we're going to come back here pretty frequently for a while, so I'll just move this to the left of our actual example map. And what I'm going to do is the first thing I want to do is go ahead and type in auto exposure, and I'm going to turn that off because that's also kind of annoying when you're going through the editor and it's trying to change things that way. We could go through and do a few things as far as, you know, name the game and all that kind of stuff here, which instead of that, I'm going to go ahead and name that Blue Cheese for the time being, and we will do this as a 0.01. Do a 0.01 very beginning here, and the company name is Distracted Games. None of this is really necessary until like much later on, but it's kind of nice to have that stuff in there. So when you're working with these editor settings, there's no save button, compile button, or anything like that. It is pretty much automatic, so I don't have to worry about that. The next thing we want to do is actually create a new folder. So I'm just going to select the content folder here, and we're going to go ahead and do a new folder, and we are going to call that... Can't have any spaces. We are going to call that Blue Cheese. This is going to be basically where we're going to hold all of our files, because we are going to be importing some things, and they're going to fill up this content folder as well. So having our own Blue Cheese folder to actually put our own specific assets and where things we want to end up being in the end of it all is going to be really helpful. I'm going to right click this. I'm going to set the color. I'm just going to go ahead and make this a nice blue cheese, of course. Plus then it stands out really easily, just really easy to see things from there. We'll open this up. We're going to go ahead and we're going to do some other new folders here. The first new folder from within here, we'll do animations. We're going to do a new folder for blueprints. We're going to do a new folder for UI, our user interface. Right, we're going to do a new folder for characters. I think that's all I'm going to do for now. Later on, we'll also be making a folder for the environment, maps, movies, sounds, and the very important weapons folder. But I'll have most of that for another video update, since that would make this a little long. I'll go ahead and make the weapons folder now. That one's probably okay to have in there. we are going to be spending most of our time in the blueprints folder in this particular video, a little bit of time in the UI folder, barely any time in any of the others. The game I'm making is eventually going to have a slew of humanoid characters of less terrestrial origin, as well as creatures of less humanoid appearance. So we will also want to make sure that we have separate folders for each character type we'll eventually be making. It's generally very good practice to organize things as early as possible to avoid confusion and clutter later on, and avoid having to move things around, especially if you get a lot of assets and you have to move them around. It can take some precious time to actually copy those over and move those over, so we don't really want to worry about that from the get-go. Normally, we'll make a separate folder for both a third-person character and a first-person character. But since we're going to be doing a true first-person style, we really only need the third-person character. So we're going to jump into characters here and make that folder. I'm actually going to call this human, no spaces, human male. We will be doing another folder for human female as well. Each of those are only going to contain the specific things for, in this case, all human males in the game. For example, we'll have a skeletal mesh. The default's going to be the Unreal Engine 4 mannequin, the UE4 mannequin. Also the skeleton and physics assets, though we may decide to do different physics assets for different characters, so we'll see how that plays out, in which case we'll just assign them in the child actor. But I am getting ahead of myself for the time being. This is also a decent place to put the materials and textures for the character as well. So we'll jump in here. I'm actually going to go ahead and make a folder for UE4 mannequin. I'm going to shorten that down. We'll call it UE4 man. And then within here, actually, I'm going to have a way to get those without worrying about that other stuff. The materials and the textures for the moment. Animations, by the way, will... Wow, okay. No idea why that happened. Animations, by the way, will contain literally the individual animations and animation montages for each character. I'll explain montages at some point in the future, and those will be separated by subfolders, of course. I think I may actually leave the main folder for the non-player character animations, and instead hold the player character animations within the characters folder structure. Makes it nice and easy to know exactly where they are. We'll see how that goes as we move along. So the blueprints, as I mentioned, that's kind of our bread and butter. That's eventually going to have environmental blueprints, which will be anything in the environment that is, let's say, active in some way, but isn't necessarily the same as an interactable object. That would be its own individual blueprint at that point, and probably its own folder as well. I'll get into that stuff much later, though, not in this video. I am going to make a folder for weapons. Oh no, actually I already made a folder for weapons. There's a ton to unpack there, so we'll do that in another video as well. In this video, we will be focusing on... We'll do a folder for pawns. And then within that, we're going to be doing a folder for player pawns. And a pawn is essentially something that a controller can take the control of. So in our game right now, if I hit play, right? So we have just taken over, that you saw that little capsule there, we've just taken over that is a pawn. And we have controls and everything set up there, and that is an actual character in the game, essentially. Now, a pawn can also be taken over by an AI, and those would be non-player pawns that we'll make eventually. So before we get into the player pawns too much further, though, let's back up a little bit here, and let's go into the UI. Let's go ahead and discuss this. So this is going to contain all the UI elements that will display on the screen, and the widget blueprints that control when they appear, how you can interact with them, if at all, and what they actually do. We'll be focusing specifically on the HUD folder, that's heads up display, in case you're unaware. I will eventually include a menu folder, possibly other things. We need them much further down the line. So in the HUD, real quick, we're going to make a subfolder for HUD assets. We'll do that as we need it, I suppose. It will include the images that end up being used for sorts of things like menus, health bars, etc. And then maybe we'll set fonts up and everything in there as well, just depending on if we use custom fonts and all that sort of stuff. So I'm going to real quick make one thing here. So I'm going to right click in user interface, go to widget blueprint, and this is going to be UI_HUD. So naming conventions, let's go over that real quick. Having a specific naming convention throughout your project is super helpful for many reasons, not only for organization purposes, but like when you're going to select things, you can see how this is like AR, right? So you know that's artificial, not artificial, what is it? Altered reality? Virtual reality? Altered reality? Is that correct? I'm sure that's correct. Anyway, so you could do things like BP for blueprint. You know, if it's a blueprint, this is a UI element, so we're making this UI and then _HUD. So this is, again, the heads-up display. One of the best tricks I've learned is to use this HUD widget as the main widget that displays the user interface elements when in the game. You can then separate different widget elements, so we'd create more widgets in here for each specific use, such as like the health bars, right? And then you place that widget into the HUD itself. Let me open this real quick and show you. So this blue line as I'm inside it here represents this canvas panel, right? So the canvas panel is essentially your screen. So everything within this canvas panel will display on the heads-up display. What we can do is once we create our own user interface elements, again like a health bar, that will end up here in user created section. We don't really have anything yet. There's an animation sample UI, whatever the hell that is, but we didn't make that. So we can then drag that onto the canvas panel, place it where we want it to be. The beauty of that is that you can hide things, show things really easily here. Not to mention you can also go in and edit each individual element of the UI much more easily and much more accurately, and it just makes life so much easier. So that's a really cool trick that I've learned. I'm going to go ahead and do, so we can hit save all here, but I'm actually just going to do Shift S, Control Shift S, yeah, Control Shift S, and that will save all as well. I'm a big fan of keyboard shortcuts, so you'll see me using those a lot. Well, I guess you won't see me using them, but I will use them, and we'll just discuss them as I use them, I suppose. Now that we have the general starting setup for our folder structure, I'm going to install some additional content that we can use, and that's going to end up helping us out a bit. Let me go ahead and pull up my Epic browser here. And we'll go to our library. So one of the things I'm going to do is Sci Fi Weapons. That's not it. Why is that not it? Let's search for weapons. Maybe it's in there. There we are. Sci Fi Weapons. So we've got Sci Fi Weapons, Sci Fi Weapons Dark. These were at least at one point in time free in the marketplace. Let me double check and see if they still are. It's not going to show me because I already have it. Unreal Engine, or Epic I should say, does actually release a lot of free stuff, free content every month, as a matter of fact, for Unreal Engine. But they do also have this, all this permanently free stuff that you can come in here and you can go through all sorts of really cool stuff. Every time I come in here, almost there's something new, like these strange things that are going on here. But that's not for this video. So I'm going to add this to our project. Now, this says that it's only supported for up to version 4.22. We are using 4.26, so it's not going to show our project in here. We have to click Show All Projects, and we have to do Blue Cheese Pre-Alpha, and it'll tell us it's not compatible with version 4.26. Please choose the closest alternative version, so we'll do 4.22. Now, this is going to add this, and it's going to essentially try to update these assets for 4.26. Not a big deal, especially in something like this. It just means that the author has not continued to update the project for the later versions. It does not necessarily mean that they are not going to work in those versions, though. We do also want to add was it animations starter pack, and this is going to do a couple things for us. Let me go ahead and show all because they haven't updated this yet. We'll do 4.25. The main thing this is going to add are the Unreal 4 mannequin, because right now we just have arms because we chose the first person template. I'll show that here in a second. And we want the full body of the mannequin. It also adds some basic animations for, in particular, holding a rifle, walking and running around with a rifle, crouching, all that kind of stuff, jumping, all that good stuff with a rifle in the hands, which is kind of what we're wanting to focus on for the most part. Let me see if there's anything else that I want in here. I don't think so. For the time being, I think that's all we need, so we'll go ahead and close that down. So you can see now that I've added these things, they're going to show up on the side here. Here's our Sci Fi Weapon Light and our Anim Starter Pack. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually grab these folders here, and I'm going to okay, well apparently because we had nothing in those folders, and when I saved it took them away. So we'll, well, I guess we're not going to have blueprints just yet. Well, let me go ahead and add these back in. So we're going to do characters. We're going to do, let me do UE4 man here. And then we will come back here and we're going to grab these. I'm actually going to go ahead and move these to that folder. And what this is having to do is essentially reassociate all of the animations that were in here that are associated with that mannequin with the mannequin again. Don't know why that folder stuck around. There's nothing in there. But now we can see when we come in here, if we go to the mesh, we can see we have our skeletal mesh for our UE4 mannequin. And there he is. This also does come with that skeleton. And the skeleton is going to have all sorts of different stuff going on here. One of the things I want to get done real quick is select the humanoid rig on this. And that's essentially going to make it so that the skeleton for this mannequin, anything that we set up for it, when we do import a character later on, we can set it for a humanoid rig as well, and all the animations should naturally and much more easily work their way over from there. He does have a physics asset as well. It's not the greatest, it's not the most accurate physics asset, and he could spend some time working on it if he really wanted to, but I don't find it important at this point in time, so we're not going to. What we are going to do, so another reason I brought this in is animations are a bit of a pain and can be a lengthy setup for me since I'm picky and I want things to look just right, so I'll be working on that in another video down the line as well. I played around with the Paragon characters that they have for free for Unreal Engine. They're really high-end characters. It was like some ridiculous $70 million in free assets that they released. Pretty crazy. And I suggest anyone trying to learn the basics of UE4 animation take a look at those. They're a pretty decent starting point. So jumping back into what we are doing though, we've grabbed the character here for our UE4 man. We will do a UE4 woman as well because I recently actually just got a female version of this mannequin as well. But that's going to be down the line. And that's going to go ahead and do it for this video. This was running a little long, so I ended up cutting this into a couple different parts. Thank you for watching. It does get more interesting from here on out because we are going to be doing a bunch of stuff with the blueprints and actually get characters set up and get some movement going and all that good stuff. So make sure that you are subscribed and you have the notify bell checked there so you can see exactly when new content does come up. and that's going to be right after this, as a matter of fact, since I already had it recorded. But I do appreciate anybody for watching. Please make sure to leave any comments below for any suggestions, questions, tips, whatever you want down there, and I will much appreciate it. All right, you have a great rest of your day.